Call this meeting to order. And Angie, if you could call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Bunting,
Here, I'm in Tennessee.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy,
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here. All righty. Commissioner Lemmerman, could you give us the prayer tonight?
Heavenly Father, we come before you and ask for wisdom and understanding as we consider these matters tonight and try to work all things out in the best interests of the taxpayers of Gratiot County. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn. Okay. Changes to the agenda. Tracy wanted to move K2 to I1 in her report. Vaccine report. And we all received a letter from Clark Hill, and I think we might want to discuss that without any objections. Where would we put it? That's probably old business. Unfinished business, maybe. Alrighty. Anybody have anything else? Looking for a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Or motion by Smith, support by Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passed. We have an agenda. Public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment? Anyone here? Anyone online that'd like to make public comment, please unmute yourself, or if you're on a cell phone, I believe it's A6.
Nobody is connected in right now for public comment.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, let's move on. We've got the consent calendar. Anybody want to pull anything out of that? Hearing nothing, we're looking for a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Bailey, second. Support. Support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passed. So next on the agenda, we're up to you, Tracy.
But, hello, everyone. As I have begun to do, I have attached the department activity reports, and they are in your packet on this, the second meeting of the month. They're there for your review. No unusual activity in the month of November. I have again also attached the rules of organization for your consideration and approval at the organization meeting on January 4th. Again, just trying to ensure that you have ample opportunity to review those and are prepared to act on those next month. I did make the change, the amendment, removed the text regarding the apportionment committee that Commissioner Lemmerman had pointed out last time. Are there any other, anything else in those rules that anyone has noticed meanwhile?
Tracy, would you just reiterate? I saw all the strikeouts from the Open Meetings Act further back in the printout. So next year, starting January 1st, the county commissioners cannot Zoom in any longer.
That's
Correct.
correct. That's correct. If you do Zoom in, you would be Zooming in like any member of the public. You would not be able to discuss, deliberate, nor vote or act on an agenda item. So your ability then to function as commissioners, to participate, can only be done remotely if you are required to be absent because of military duty. Contrary to what I had said the last time, the information I had at our last meeting was that there was absolutely no will in the legislature to take a look at that and maybe modify that. I subsequently learned that, well, maybe there's a little bit of interest. So I guess we can kind of take our pick. There is or there isn't. But for now, the ability for you folks to appear and participate remotely is done as of this meeting.
Thank you.
You bet.
On that note, I did have conversation with Pat Altman and Joni Emmons in St. Louis last week. They did not have a clue what was going on. Not a clue. So somebody put that in on a Saturday morning. So they were going to look into it, see what's going on. They were shocked that that's the way it was. They didn't have a clue.
No.
Not an iota. Not the legislation, the legislators didn't have any movement on it. They didn't even know about it. So I have a hard time believing that, but
Yeah.
that's what I was told. And they were going to look into it and get back with me. And they haven't done that yet either.
You know, the lesson there, and I know you folks do it very well, is when we create or find, and I do this as well, opportunities to rub elbows with our legislators. You know, it's good to know what we care about and kind of drop it in their ear, and you never know what might happen. And that's useful for me to know, because if I interact with either of them on another matter, I can reiterate it. And of course, if Chuck, I think that you have some connection with Graham Filler, if you're able to mention it to him, I think that'd be very helpful.
Alrighty.
Yeah, and there are a lot of reasons why it's helpful here. And I think that's the case in many counties. Let me add, folks, that any board could, yeah. So anyway, I think it'd be something for the legislature to look at, because it's actually stricter now, more restrictive than it was even before COVID. So, okay, I guess the remaining subject matter for me that I want to communicate to you is that there's been some movement in some of our litigation and the vaccine issue. Some of this is thick enough that I actually decided tonight to print out the couple of pages that have my notes on them about the litigation. And the first is the opioid litigation. You know, that's a many tentacled beast. Some time ago, you folks had agreed to participate in a bankruptcy settlement that had been negotiated as to Purdue Pharma. That's the infamous Sackler family that's behind Purdue Pharma. And they're alleged to have pushed doctors over a number of years to prescribe OxyContin. And the allegation is to have done so in excess and inappropriately, and therefore encouraged many folks to become addicted. So it had been worked out that there would be a bankruptcy, and there were a number of financial commitments that the Sacklers made as a part of that bankruptcy. But the bankruptcy settlement retained the ability for the Sacklers to be individually charged, being criminally liable, whereas just as opposed to just the corporate entity. And the bankruptcy judge believed that that's not proper, and so has failed to approve that bankruptcy settlement. So we'll see where that goes. I have no doubt that something will be worked out and that will continue to be resolved through bankruptcy, but that's where that is right now. this is not what you folks looked at our last meeting. This is a few months ago. There are a number of arms to this thing, so I can understand some confusion. But the Sacklers are alleged to have been among the worst offenders and those who profited the most. So I've been just making very passing mention about our wind turbine tax litigation. DTE has stepped up and is negotiating with us. Everyone, in my view, continues to be negotiating in good faith. I think that we're very close to an agreement. It's our hope that we will get this wrapped up very quickly. And then we certainly hope that consumers will come to the table. And this is the way we need to resolve these things. And so we're just hopeful that our friends and neighbors at consumers will sit down with us and negotiate in good faith and allow us to come to a resolution that I think works for both sides. So stay tuned on that. And yes, the vaccine mandate, what of course we all love. You recall that the president had announced a mandate for employers with over 100 employees and was requiring that employees be vaccinated or be required to be tested weekly. A number of states objected and sought and won stays. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, though, always liking to be a little bit contrary, lifted the stay. So for a moment, at least, OSHA pushes ahead and continues with the implementation of the vaccine mandate or testing requirement and the other provisions requiring face masks and other things. As of my last reading earlier today, 27 states had petitioned the U.S. Supremes to reimpose the stay. And we don't know how that's going to be received or how quickly it might be acted on. So, when we have the green light, we walk. And when the red light goes back up, we stop. But again, we are governed by MyOSHA. But no change there that I am aware of. They had previously indicated that they don't plan significant deviation from the OSHA provisions at such time as those might take effect, and at such time as they might be revised through litigation. So this process really isn't over yet. There are a variety of requirements that we, Gratiot County, would have when we have the green light from the right entity. We need to write a policy that memorializes how we're going to handle face masks, how we're going to deal with our collection of proof of the vaccination status of our employees. We do have a data system. We have the collection and storage piece worked out. And then there are other decisions that we will need to make. I, of course, will bring that policy to this board along with a statement of the MyOSHA provisions. So that's really the extent of the report. Lots going on with the opioid bankruptcy. Vaccine mandate has generated a lot of activity again. And otherwise, we're just kind of crawling to the finish line here of 2021. And don't let me miss the opportunity here to wish all of you very, very happy, safe, and Angie healthy holidays. That's all I have.
Tracy, I did notice an article this afternoon by Justice Kavanaugh. Apparently, he's requesting the president to withdraw the mandates. So it sounds like the Supreme Court may act.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Supreme Court actually divides the country up into areas, and the Sixth Circuit is Judge Kavanaugh's assignment. So that Judge Kavanaugh, that's an unconventional way of going about it, frankly. But the president is. I think we can assume the president will not simply lift the mandate with a call from Judge Kavanaugh. So I would guess it would go to the Supreme Court, and Amy Coney Barrett actually did something interesting with some students who wanted to have a stay imposed at one of the colleges in Indiana. So who knows how this will turn out, but that you can count on it that there will be activity.
Okay, any other questions? All righty, thank you, Tracy. Let's move on, Commissioner Committee reports. Commissioner Lemmerman?
Two committee meetings, Parks and Rec and the Airport Committee. And it's really been a contrast this year. Parks and Rec is a well-oiled machine. Airport Committee, we struggle to meet. But the only thing to report about Parks and Rec is they set aside $80,000 for a grant program for the municipalities of Gratiot County to submit into to spread some money around to the municipalities. And the deadline for these requests is December 31st. As of last Wednesday, they haven't had, nobody's requested any money.
People didn't even realize they had it until they started looking. It wasn't very well advertised.
I thought it was early on.
I just got a call today from the city of Ithaca, so yeah, it wasn't very well advertised.
Okay,
They're gonna submit something,
they're gonna try to get some.
but I told them, get a hold of Pete, don't call me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The Airport Committee meeting, we had a good discussion about what we might make a request for ARP funds. And I think we're going to have a better year in 2022 as far as once we get a permanent city manager and once we get our legs under us as far as drawing together on some proposals, I hope to have some better reports going forward. But that's all I got for tonight.
John, do you know where they're at on that city manager?
I don't. I heard
I thought they had a meeting about it, but
last I knew, and Tracy told me that they were down to two, and Eric was one.
no idea.
And I seen the paper one withdrew, so they're going starting back at the drawing board. What
You're kidding. They're going back to the drawing board.
that's unfortunate.
Not withdrew.
He was the finalist too, I believe, he or she.
Took a position at Belding.
All righty, thank you. Commissioner Bailey?
Had a health board meeting. Discussed many issues. We hired another RN because that end of the health situation is getting way out of hand. They've got people working 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. And you know, that doesn't last very long. So we hired another RN that's gonna be working, well, she'll probably work full-time now, but she was hired part-time. But the COVID cases are just busting loose around here. They're crazy. Yeah. I.e. Angie. My son 2 weeks ago. I can keep going on and on. But people that I personally know that have been sick and passed away from it. So it's not good. It's not good. No, I don't want to politicize it. Don't even talk about it. I'm just talking about people that are getting it and people that are suffering from it and dying from it. My daughter-in-law's mother died of it. And her girls couldn't even go see her, say goodbye. And they're not the only family. There's hundreds of thousands of them across the country that's happened to. It's just sad. It's sad. But other than that, no, I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you, George. I did attend a personnel committee meeting the other day. We did the 6-month review on the new health officer. Pretty much concluded she's doing a good job, and I think it's probably going to come up at a board meeting that we ought to do something about the 1-year contract.
Yeah.
So that's all I had.
I attended a couple township meetings. Basically, the townships are, they had a meeting a couple of weeks, well, it was a week ago, and then I think it was on a week ago, maybe it was last Thursday, they had a public hearing for out in New Haven for windmills. And I didn't get to that meeting. I got home about 9 o'clock that night, but I'm sure it's probably passed. And I know they're coming for public hearings in the other townships, Fulton and Washington, and to put some more windmills in. I thought Fred and them would be here tonight, but they're going to come after the first of the year. The other thing, I'd mentioned this to Tracy, on the 10th of December, they, in the courthouse, they had a ceremony and hung Randy Tavonen's photo in the circuit court. And there were some people there talking. I thought Judge McDonald would be here this evening. Him and I talked about it. He said he thought he'd be here, but maybe something has come up. There's some talk about maybe honoring Randy. He'd been with this county for 42 years. He had an opportunity one time to, we all worked hard to run him in a campaign for a Court of Appeals circuit, which takes about half the state. This is a number of years ago. It was a classic time that the Detroit Free Press said, here's the best guy qualified, didn't get the job because he had the wrong name. And a girl named Kelly in Saginaw beat Tavone. And I think we were fortunate to have him for a long time. There was some talk about maybe naming the circuit courtroom after him. And we have some people who it wouldn't cost the county anything. And we have some people who would take care of the plaque or whatever of that, but it'd have to be passed by this board, my understanding is. And so
You know what they name it?
I think they would just probably call it something like the Honorable Randy L. Tavonen Circuit Courtroom. You know, basically, he spent a lot of time there. He was our judge for a long time. They don't think anybody else will ever serve that amount of time there.
Excellent jurist. He was really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's well known throughout the state. We had it was a nice evening that night. We went down to his reception down in St. John's. There was just a lot of people couldn't say good enough things about him. And he's been a good guy for our system, I think, for a number of years. So I'd like to bring that forward, and I probably would make that. I think we probably need that in some form of a motion. And but it wouldn't cost the county anything. I know there's some people that would take care of the signage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get a decoration or something to do that, present it with it sometime.
Are you making a motion?
I'd make that motion.
I'll support that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? We're kind of out of order, but hang on, we'll get to you, Jan.
A comment, please. One of the sort of moving parts in this is that I believe it's Judge McDonald had offered to communicate with the other judges and to secure their agreement to this action. I have no doubt that everyone will agree and support this wholeheartedly, but just so that you are aware that that is happening also in the background.
So any other discussion? Do we still want to go forward with this? or-
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's our building. It's our.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we represent it.
Alrighty. So any further discussion? Voice vote fine on this, Angie? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, great. Alrighty, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion passed. Thank you, Sam. And Jan, you're up.
Yes, I do have two meetings on the same night, which was last Tuesday. So I went to each one to tell them Merry Christmas, and that was Bethany Township and Wheeler Township. And I usually take them cookies at the end of the year. So I still have two cookies that go to St. Louis and Breckenridge. But anyway, it was kind of just a fun night. It's the end of the year. That's all I have.
All righty, thank you, Jan. Okay, next, let's move on to new business. Sheriff, looks like you're up for the first one.
Thank you. In your package, you'll see two quotes that got from Core Technologies on CAD system, computer-aided dispatch. We started looking into this back in the summer, and one of the main complaints we've had from officers that have left is they repeat things over and over and over in our report writing system. So they'll enter it into our report writing system, and then they have to enter it into an accident, and then they have to do this, and it's just repetitive. So we started looking at computer-aided dispatch through central dispatch for our deputies to make their lives easier. So that's one of the bigger complaints we had from people that were leaving here is doing things over and over and over. So we started this back in June. The undersheriff's been a part of every meeting. I have not been to every meeting. I've been to some. And Dan Morton's been an integral part in the meetings too, as to how this system works. The quotes that you will see are, one was for $45,000, another one was for $25,000. Matt was involved in our last meeting, and it was advised by him and by everybody that was at the meeting, including myself, that we should look at the $25,000 proposal, not because it's cheaper, it's because it's more in line with what we need. It is hosted by the company. We don't have to use one of our servers here in the county to host this. And it just made more sense. With that in mind, I went back to Caliber Public Safety, who is under Core Harris Corporation, who we do our computer report writing system with and our jail stuff with. And I told them that basically I wasn't going to pay $25,000 for it. They got to do better. So we've got a revised quote that is not in your packet. I just received it today for $21,616. And I'll let the undersheriff speak first, and then Dan as to exactly what this is going to do for us.
Good evening, everyone. When I first came to Gratiot County to be the undersheriff, one of the first things I did is I tried to sit down with every employee that worked for the sheriff's department. The single number one complaint by everyone who works the road is about our antiquated report writing system. And I was quite perplexed by it. I didn't know what they were really talking about because I hadn't had a chance to use it and operate with it and kind of get acquainted with it. The more I became acquainted with it, I realized it was vastly out of date, not totally understanding how it could be out of date. Still sold today. Through a lot of research, I've found that when Gratiot County purchased the core technology for the, not only did Gratiot County purchase it for the sheriff's department, purchased, as they say, we're kind of their shining star owners of this stuff, because Dan uses Caliber, which is owned by the same parent company that owns Core. We use Core, court uses Core, prosecutor's office uses Core. So in theory, all of those systems are designed to communicate and talk to each other. And it's supposed to simplify how data is transferred. Unfortunately, I think when we entered into this era, it was maybe too big of a jump at one time. And so a lot of things were shut off. What I found out is a lot of the things that my deputies complain about were switches that they were asked to turn those things off, because I think we went from really paper and pencil to a computer era. And for whatever reason, a lot of things were shut off. That was pre the sheriff being the sheriff, pre me being the undersheriff, and pre Dan being the head of the 911 center. So If an accident, let's say an accident happened right down at one of our famous intersections for accidents is the corner of State and Lincoln. We have a lot of crashes that happen. And in that crash, someone is going to receive a citation because they rear-ended somebody or blew a stop sign. And dispatchers are going to receive that phone call and type that information into the system. They're going to dispatch a deputy who's going to have to enter it into his daily. He's going to have to enter it into the TIM system, which is our report writing system. The only way we can track things, the yearly report that you folks get is generated from, in order for us to provide you with that report at the end of the year, we have to pull a complaint number, a criminal complaint number for things that aren't criminal. Now, this accident I'm talking about would require one of those. But for anything we want to track for you, we have to pull a complaint number. We have no way of redacting that information to let you know that we did it. So the dispatcher pulled it, the deputy wrote it on their daily, the deputy wrote it in the court system. They then wrote it into, they have to retype it all into what's called ITAC, which is the system that the state of Michigan uses for UD10s, which is required on a crash that has over $1,000 worth of damage. And then if they're going to write a ticket, they got to rewrite it again in another version of ITAC to write the ticket. So 5 times to do the exact same thing. Where this mobile CAD system, and I'm not guaranteeing that nobody's going to have to type it twice, but if Dan's people type it in and they type it in properly, even if they don't do it properly, it's an adjustment that needs to be made, not a complete redundancy of the work. His folks type it in, it pushes into our system. The deputies have whatever they just received in a 911 call, it's now in front of their face in the system. They then decide if I need a complaint number, which in the accident they would. ITAC now speaks with the mobile CAD. All that data pushes over. Now you still have to finish it just like I did when I did a paper one and I had to fill in all these bubbles. It's not going to do it for them, but I think it's ridiculous in 2021, soon to be 2022, that we are typing the same exact person's name, dispatch, deputy. I mean, it's ridiculous. Especially when we get, like right now, we have 3 young deputies that work here who have previous experience at other places. They all are mesmerized why on earth we have to do the things we have to do in order to get the same amount of work done. So in June, I had a wonderful opportunity to meet with the head of CORE. I wouldn't say he's the head, he's our head salesman. He's the guy, he's the face for us. And he had a big smile on his face. I went up to him and he quickly didn't have a smile on his face because I told him, we got Houston, there's a problem, a big problem that needs to be taken care of. Anyhow, he listened. He agreed to come here, and in this very room, we have had a meeting every week, almost every single week since June. We have had a meeting in this room or in the sheriff's department, sometimes when we needed to use computers every week in order to see what we can do to make this system work. We have made vast improvements, bringing Dan's folks in, bringing the jail in. We have made vast improvements with using the system we have. We've turned a lot of switches on. Like our officers now get to see some of what they do, some of what dispatch we can now see. We can now add certain elements to the CAD report. But we still can't, my deputies still can't put into CAD the person. Dan's people can't put it in there and we can't put it in there. You can type it in, I can type in Steve Sopsey, but we can't get like liens information, my real name, Stephen Mark Sopsey, my date of birth, my address, all that, none of that pushes in with the what we have right now. So the thing that this mobile CAD will do is it will make it will be light years above of where we are right now as far as the information that Dan's people can put into the system, what they can share with our deputies, and how we can track it. The biggest component of this is, why do I write, Sam, I'm going to use you as an example. Your business, Smith Family Funeral Homes, we as the sheriff's department will provide funeral traffic, correct? Not all the time, but if there's a big one and you need us to block traffic, that's what we do. We do it for Lux, we do it for you. Currently, in order for us to take credit for that data, the only way we can electronically track that is for an officer to take a criminal complaint report, draw a criminal complaint number, and fill out all this information about Smith Family Funeral Home that we direct the traffic. It's insane. To me, it skews the numbers way out of whack of what they should be. Right now in Isabella County, way more people than we have. Clinton County, way more people than we have. They have approximately half or less of the criminal complaint numbers in 2021 than Gratiot County has. Because they both have a CAD system where they track them through the CAD. And that's what this will allow us to do, is track things. I truly believe you will find that our officers do more work than what we've taken credit for. Human nature is, if I stop in the road and I removed a dead deer, or I removed a tire or a rim or a piece of plastic or anything, a cop, I know, that's what I did. They're not going to get on the radio and tell you that they did that. Why? Because then they should generate a report about it to track it. Okay. They just did it. If we could do it in CAD, where they don't even need to let the dispatcher know, it's a matter of pushing a button on their CAD, remove dead deer from roadway 127 northbound Polk Road. Done. Now, at the end of the year, that CAD system tracks that as like an object in the road. We can pull you data for objects removed from the road. Not that anyone in this room would ever care about how many objects we remove from the road, but it's something that your police officers are doing. And we will then be able to provide better data, I think, not only to the commissioners, but to the city of Ithaca, to any one of our townships. If they want a report of what's actually going on in their townships, we will be able to get that data it'll be a much better what we're really doing out there. If an officer drives through Elm Hall and checks all is well at the store and everything's good, it's into the CAD system. It's a CAD entry. It's done. Where now you got to call dispatch. Dispatch has to type that in there. You understand where it's caused a lot of. I don't think people talk about the stuff they're doing. I don't think they take credit for the stuff they're doing as efficiently as they could, because it has to create this abundance of work for dispatch and for the deputies involved. We've actually asked our officers right now, they're actually doing a little bit more work because we wanted to see if this CAD system we had will even do what we want it to do. And with Dan's people very graciously helping, we now are proving we can collect this data. We just can't put in all the information that you want. So right now, not only are they doing a little bit more work, our deputies are doing more work because we're entering stuff into the CAD the best we can, but we're still doing dailies and pulling complaint reports for everything, because I don't want to lose what we're tracking right now. So until we can turn this system on, and by turning this system on, we really will be joining modern day police work of how police work is done everywhere. And the sheriff has been awesome with working through this, with giving me the latitude to work with CORE and pull numerous people into these meetings week after week after week, because we had to make sure if we're going to do this, I want to get it right. We don't have, I used a passage from NASA, failure is not an option. It's not. We cannot recruit police officers. Sheriff, how long have we had that listing in MCOLs? A month and a half. So 6 weeks we've had a listing with MCOLs. We have an application from a gentleman who isn't even out of the police academy yet. We have an applicant from the oldest person to ever go through the MCOLs system. He just graduated last Friday. He's going to come in and do some ride-alongs, and we'll probably interview him. Those are the applicants that we have currently. And I have 3 positions down, as we just lost. It was a great thing for Gratiot County, a great thing for us that one of our employees was selected to be the chief of police in Breckenridge, Michigan. That's a great thing for us, that they thought highly enough of him to go work there, but it leaves us a hole. So we are in a position where we have 3 positions down, and I don't have 3 applicants. I only got 1 that is even eligible to come to work right now. And we have some young people here who are, really eager to get into this new modern era. You have a whole slew of new dispatchers who are open books when it comes to using this new technology. And I personally don't see a better time to start using it. Even the older guys, the guys that have been here for 25, 26 years are salivating, waiting for this, because why? Every time you door up with an Isabella County deputy and you read them what your complaint number is, because sometimes you guys share that, they look at you like, what? How on earth is Gratiot County more than double ahead of us? It's because we're pulling these numbers for all these things that we don't need to do, which creates a lot of work. Sometimes a deputy sheriff will have 4 or 5 calls during the day, and 0 of them are of criminal nature. That when you think of criminal nature, like they were dealing with a criminal that needed to be, but yet at the end of the day, they will sit down and type out 5 police reports, sometimes costing us overtime. On all those items were non-criminal matters. They were, it's kind of the old fashioned way of doing police work. It's the way that I started out in Ingham County, and then they quickly brought about being able to allow us to use a newer system back then that allowed us, we call them blotter numbers back in the day, where we could get rid of these things and it was a trackable system. So I really think this is a great opportunity for Gratiot County. It will be a wonderful opportunity with our dispatch center to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently with our dispatch center. This is a win-win, in my opinion, not only for our dispatch center, but for the sheriff's department. And then there's other components once we do get to mobile CAD where, and we're not even looking to do this now, but in the future, our jail should know from mobile CAD when Under Sheriff Sopsey, if I was to arrest someone on a traffic stop, once that's entered into mobile CAD, it detects that there's an arrest made and someone's physically in custody. It will allow the jail to know prior to me even arriving there. They will know who's coming to the jail. So it expedites their booking process. They then know, oh, the last time that Steve Sopsey was in the jail, he was a problem. We can have that all prearranged before we ever get to the jail. That's where the system gives us that potential to get there. And that will be something that we explore at a different time. But I just really think we need this to move forward to be a modern day police agency. Dan? Yeah. Well, you got the dispatch and you're part of it. This is the copy.
He said it very, very well. And then the only word that I think that the undersheriff didn't use was integration. That's what this is. This is integration of information and shareable, making it usable. And dispatchers aren't going to have to do more work, because that was an immediate concern of myself as well as my staff. Is like, oh my God, we're gonna have to do a ton more work for the sheriff's office, and nobody wants to do more work. And what it's going to be is it's actually going to be completely the opposite. It's we're going to be able to be utilizing systems that, because we were putting stuff into our computer-aided dispatch out at 911, but it wasn't going anywhere. So it's like, why bother putting all this information in and doing a bunch of work when it doesn't go anywhere? Now people are starting to see the merit of putting it in there. It's shareable in a form right now to the records management system that the sheriff's office uses. And now by adding in this mobile version, the in-car computer-aided dispatch, it'll make communication and data sharing and integration of information, I don't want to say seamless, but nearly seamless. There will always be room for improvement. Other than that, Sheriff kind of brought me here kind of as the nerd a little bit. So if you have questions about some of the tech stuff.
I want to add, Matt was awesome. Yes. When we first got some COVID funds long before ARP money and all that stuff, Matt got us all brand new computers for our cars. So we have these awesome brand new state-of-the-art computers in our car, and we're using like DOS on it. Like, it's crazy. Like, we're watching the beta film, and we should be on cutting edge technology. And you're right. Matt was in the meeting, the much less expensive, literally half price expensive, or half the cost, excuse me, was Dan and Matt saying, no, other parts of this are, let them do it. If we have a problem with our server, Dan had one 2-3 years ago,
Yes.
and it took you days.
In 2019, our own hardware, so this more expensive solution is we would be investing in our own hardware, having to take care of it ourselves, do all of that work on our own. And if it breaks, that's it, we're on our own. Where actually the less expensive version is what they refer to as SaaS now, or software as service. And basically what that is the company, through data centers and things like that, the hardware is out on the cloud. And they pay for it to be maintained. There's redundancy. So like, the server, there's a server here in the physical building. If something happens to the server here and there's not a built-in redundancy somewhere else, that's it, you're offline. Where with this software as service, there's a data center, I think they said one's like in Denver, Colorado, and then there's another one that's somewhere else in Mexico. So I mean, they're like so geographically different, and there's multiple servers even in those locations. So if a server goes down at that location, you'll never notice it. As long as you have connection to internet, you're good.
Thanks, Dan. So to just lighten on what the undersheriff said, we're paying overtime for guys to stay after to write reports now. If we get this system, it just all pushes through. It's basically wrote for them. Just got to put their stamp on it and that's it. It's done. I have this money in my budget. I've talked to Chris with it. It's already in my budget. I do have the funds to fund the 21,616. I was hoping for 21,500, but it came in $116 over what I wanted to spend. But so I do have it in my budget, and respectfully ask that you guys approve that I can purchase this so we can get into 2022. Thank you.
Well, I see two different quotes here, so I'm kind of confused.
Yep.
The other one's for 45 or 40.
Yeah, that's that other system where we maintain it here. It's actually more expensive to maintain it ourselves. We don't want nothing to do with that.
So that's just their.
Yeah, that's the other quote. And then the other one was for 25, and I actually got that one bumped down to 21,616.
I see it's got maintenance and support in it.
Yep.
I would move we do this.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, we have a second.
I'll second it. I got a couple more questions.
Okay,
So on this quote here,
I got the other quote here. If you want to look at it.
so this mobile annual subscription at $57.75. If you had taken that quote, would you X that out and that would be the annual, or this would be a 2-year?
Right. So what that is this is 21 people that can use it, 21 deputies.
Okay.
They each have to have their own subscription to use the system. So that's what the 21 means. There's 21 deputies that would be able to use it. We can have 21 people using it.
So would you say that we should take this 5544 out and put this in?
No.
Because we want the 2-year?
No, this is for support and maintenance. If we needed something, tech support on this, if something goes wrong. This here is just so they can use, each deputy has to be licensed to use it at $264 for a one-time fee.
So if something goes wrong, then we'll have that $6,600?
No, we pay that to have, it's like insurance.
Okay, so is it 21,616 plus?
No, then this will be next year at 6618 will be our maintenance fee for next year.
Okay.
This is to get it started.
And looks like you're buying the hardware up front.
Yeah.
He has a maintenance fee to Caliber. We have a maintenance fee to Core already.
So
This is an additional.
is there a maintenance fee that we're going to no longer be paying for the old system that we'll be saving?
There was no old system.
Not of a mobile
For
cap.
the mobile cap.
This is mobile cap.
I asked that same question and they were like, you don't have a mobile CAD? We have a web CAD that we can see, not a mobile CAD. So this is an entire product. that needs the support. Because I was the same way. I go, well, I don't care if it saves $500, you know, it's.
Right.
Yeah, we're already paying it, but it's completely different.
It's completely different.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that was one of my, I thought, well, we're gonna save a little, it didn't work.
So 21,616 and then $6,618 a year.
For maintenance
thereafter.
next year.
That'll be for
After.
2023. We paid the 21,616 this year. We don't have to pay the six.
I will then continue for 2024 as well.
Well, then we'll get another quote for annual subscription and hopefully it's somewhere in that.
You know, there's gonna be a raise to it. It'll be 3 to 5%.
But we're also getting software updates.
Yes.
Yes.
So like as new technology comes
Correct.
along.
And that's what your software maintenance goes towards is development updates. and
Because
things
it's
like that.
always changing. The rules for NLETs change, the rules for lien change, and they have to update our software so we can even remain able to use that
Compliant.
stuff. So that's the way. Okay. So that's the fee.
We'll get an alert right now in our Talon core system and say, system maintenance update on such and such date at 11 PM. And then they'll.
Sunday nights,
Yeah, usually on a Sunday night.
Sunday night, you can't do anything. So for an
You can't have
hour.
crime. You can't have crime on Sunday
Yeah.
nights.
You can't do nothing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's the time to speak. And
The public will disregard that comment.
It was, when I went to him, I told him, I says, this is what I roughly got to spend and you guys are gonna have to try to work with us. And they got, like I said, within $116, so.
Okay, any other
I
questions?
have one more.
Okay, go ahead, John.
And this would be a question, I guess, for Tracy or for Chris, if you're on. Is there any chance that we could look at software as infrastructure? And if it is infrastructure, could it qualify for ARP funding?
I asked Chris and he could answer that probably.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, the sheriff and I talked about that, and we brought up pretty much every category and buzzword that would make this eligible, and we were not comfortable charging it to the ARP fund.
I just want to ask that for everything.
Trust me, I thought the same.
All right,
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Very good.
Thank you all very much. Bottom of my heart, this is a huge thing for the commissioner.
Alrighty, looks like you're up, Matt.
Good evening. Before I get into the two items I had on the agenda, I did want to bring up one current event that just happened today. I was notified by a couple of our users that they had received some suspicious emails, so I did send a notification out to all of our users just to warn them about malicious emails and not clicking on links that are from people that are unknown. One thing that was interesting about this type of email, though, was that it appears to be coming from somebody that does business with the county, and it also had content in it that that the recipients had expected to see and conversed with these individuals. Both of the emails came from systems that were known to be compromised, Clare County and Oceana County. So I just wanted to alert the board to that and let them know that that had been happening today and that I had reached out to our users to kind of warn them about that. And that does tie into the two agenda items a little bit. First off, I wanted to give the board a brief update on our email migration project. This is scheduled for late February when we'll actually go live with the new system. Right now, we're currently working on collecting our training materials. I've been meeting with IT Right to go over kind of a game plan about how it's going to all happen. Right now, we plan on having our typical on-site staff there the week of launch. We'll also have some additional IT Right staff there to assist users with migrating their calendars and contacts and getting them kind of used to the new system. All of the email from the old system, we'll be migrating that over into the new system kind of away from the view of our users. That'll just happen kind of automatically. So that is scheduled for early, or like I said, late February, sorry. Since I discussed this with the board last, we actually had a second email migration work group meeting, and that meeting went well, and everybody was kind of on board and eager to get the software launched and get us migrated over and moved into it. One of the other things that are on site people will be assisting with is connecting mobile devices to the new system as well. So that'll be a little bit of a hands-on process, getting people connected into the new system with their cellular and mobile devices. And then after we launch that system, there will be a few other components that kind of slowly go online. One thing is that when we launch the system, we'll be launching with contacts, calendars, the email system, and then some online storage. And then after that initial rollout, we'll be slowly introducing or making more different applications kind of go online for people as we have time to educate people about how to best use them with their workflows and their departments. And then one of the other things that we'll be doing, and I briefly discussed this when I brought the email migration up to the board previously, we'll be slowly migrating people from our retail licensing structure that we use right now to license our Microsoft products to this email subscription service platform. So as our retail licensing expires, we'll move people into this new system of licensing. Are there any questions about the email migration work that we're working on right now?
I've had a few questions, Matt. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get with you on it. I've been tied up with medical things, but one of the questions I had is that I'm surprised that we keep doing policies on these things. Especially, I mean, we have some problems is what you're saying, and you're trying to get this under control, but like down the road, do you see that you might have to change these things, or and I guess some of the wording and it kind of bothered me. I was going to get with you on this and so we could talk about it. I have to apologize. I had a medical thing going on, and I'm pretty well now through all of that, and want to get through to the next year. And I suppose you want a motion on this evening, right?
Mr. Bunting, he was providing an update on the email migration project. Is that what your questions relate to?
I'm kind of talking about I'm thinking that that's part of that policy, isn't it?
No, I think that would be a separate presentation. Also, this board can, I had asked Matt to send this policy out early. I know you had an opportunity to talk with Matt about this after the last meeting. So just so that we make sure that you're kind of on the same page, that right now Matt was just providing you another update of the email migration project, and we can move to the data protection policy when you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yeah, he's working right now on K3, and that would be K4. I believe you're addressing, Jan. Matt, are you ready to move on to that?
Yeah,
or are you continuing?
Let me dive into the data protection policy, and then after that, maybe I can address Commissioner Bunting's questions. So the main goal of the data protection policy is to protect the county's sensitive data from unauthorized loss, leaks, and theft. And in order to do that, the policy identifies the types of data that we should take extra care to protect. And these types of data are things like social security numbers, personally identifiable information, sealed court records, financial records like credit card numbers or checking account numbers, juvenile court records, ongoing criminal case investigations, protected health information, and then usernames and passwords. And I put this in the memo, but one of the reasons I kind of took a hard look at this is because late last year and early this year, the county was visited by groups that call themselves First Amendment auditors. And what they do is they'll walk around into public areas and film these areas. And I don't really want to talk about, the legality of that or whatnot, but my concern is just that they're walking around filming public locations, and I want to keep employees from inadvertently having like their password on a Post-it note on their screen, and then have that filmed and then put on the web somehow. So that's kind of what kicked us off starting thinking about this. So the policy identifies the type of data that we want to protect. And then it also establishes what I call a security baseline for sensitive data. So a lot of our departments, they have to adhere to certain regulatory standards to protect that data. But what I'd like to do is make it so that we have this baseline across all of our departments so that they have to adhere to this certain level of security. And then those departments that have to meet more stringent requirements, of course, will still have to do that. And examples of those more stringent requirements are what they call CJIS or HIPAA. CJIS protects criminal justice information, and HIPAA protects health information. So it's going to create a secure, stronger security baseline for departments that might not otherwise have to follow those other stringent requirements. It also establishes precautions that have to be followed. For instance, we would disallow our employees to use external email systems or cloud services for business use. And some of the reasons we want to do this is because if they're conducting business with a personal email account, if they leave county employment, I don't really have any way of getting at that information if we need to move it to another employee, or if somebody FOIAs that information, or if there's litigation, like a litigation hold on that information. One of the other things that this policy does is it, of course, says that employees have to use a secure password, and it includes what requirements they have to meet for that. It also states that employees have to have a responsibility to let the IT department know if they discover a system or process which isn't compliant with the policy. And it's not to tattle on your department or to tattle on other employees. It's mostly just so that I'm aware of it, and then we can bring that department up and guide them into compliance with the policy. Some of the other precautions that employees have to take in this policy: not displaying the sensitive data in plain view. So like not having somebody's social security number sitting out on your desk when your desk is unattended, or having a username and password on a Post-it on your monitor that's in plain view. And then it also states that if you see unknown visitors in a secured area where this type of data is located, then you should reach out to courthouse security or 911, depending on which location your office is in. It also states that employees have to protect the data, the physical data in transit, which means like if you're moving information on a flash drive or a hard drive back and forth, we need to encrypt that data in case that device is lost. Then somebody that finds that device can't have access to that data without a password that's associated with that device. One of the other very key and important components of it is that it requires security awareness training for all of our employees within 30 days of their hire date, and then annually after that. It also allows us to do what we call security awareness exercises. And we would conduct those regularly. And then if an employee fails the exercise, we would make them complete an additional security awareness training session within 14 days of that. And if they don't comply with taking the additional training or doing the initial training, then we would suspend their network access and email access until the training is completed. The security awareness exercises that we'll be doing in the short term would consist of phishing tests. So those malicious style emails that I was talking about earlier that our users are receiving, what it does is it's going to train our users how to spot those types of emails and teach them better to not click on those malicious links or reply to them and give out information that they shouldn't be giving out. And it's really important that they complete those annually because different style of attacks are always coming out, and we need to make employees aware of the new styles of attack, like the one that I talked about earlier, where not only is it coming from a person that's very familiar to you, it's also got content on it that's familiar to you too. So they're getting very sophisticated with the ways that they're attacking the county and trying to trick our users into giving away information that they shouldn't be. And so like I said, if the user isn't able to participate in that training or refuses to, then we would have to suspend their access so that they're not putting us at risk.
A couple of questions. Would that be like for everybody in the county, such as say Commission on Aging or the library? Like we write checks to different departments. Does that include all those other departments such as Commission on Aging, Animal Shelter, Parks and Rec?
Commission on Aging and Parks and Rec, yes, because both of those are connected to the county network and utilize the county email system. I didn't hear the third example that you gave.
The short answer is yes, Commissioner Bunting.
Pardon?
The short answer is yes. Anyone who uses our system would be subject to this.
That would be because they can go through their internet to get to another internet. What would the reason be for that?
The Commission on Aging and Parks and Rec, both of them are connected to our network here at the courthouse directly. And they both use our county email system.
Okay, basically, I just wanted to understand a little bit more of it. I guess I didn't understand that why you would do a policy on it. Maybe try it first, just to see if there's any little clits that you need to change ahead of time, or have you already started this with the county?
Which specific part? Are you talking about the security awareness training?
Yeah, the security and the training and all that.
Oh, we've been doing a little bit of training when people hire in to make them aware of phishing style attacks over email. I provide everybody a new hire sheet that helps them recognize those. In the past, we've done some, what I would say, like ad hoc or individual phishing exercises. So we'll send out emails that look like suspicious emails to people and then see how many people are clicking on those links so that we have some knowledge of how at risk we are as a county and how easy it is for our employees to kind of accidentally click on those links. So we have done some of these things in the past, but we've never had a comprehensive plan where we're regularly doing that type of testing and mandating that people do that type of security awareness training at hire. And we've also never said that if you fail those types of tests and then don't complete additional training, that will disable your network access. We've never had to do that.
Policies are an excellent way of meeting our responsibility for clearly communicating to all employees what is expected of them, what processes, procedures, and so forth must be followed, what sorts of uses are prohibited as representing a risk to our entire system. The security.
I'm real familiar with. Yeah, I'm real familiar with all of this. The reason I have these questions is 3 times on my personal computer at home, I find that I have somebody else that's on my computer. So I have a regular tech guy that checks it over monthly. Would that be through the county that you guys have gone into my computer, or would that be somebody else out there?
We don't have access to your personal computer.
I'm going to bring that in. I would like to show you because maybe, I kept thinking the county was doing this and maybe it is somebody else that's in my computer going through things.
The
And also,
concerns, Commissioner Bunting, given the concerns that you're having about our staff having access to your personal systems, we could talk about this. I'd really rather that this not.
well, the
end
reason
up-
I say that in the first policy back in January, which I've talked to Matt about, is said in that policy that the county had the right to go in my personal emails, my personal pictures, and my personal, anything on my computer, my personal computer. And that has happened. And that's why I had the concern.
No, the county has not gone into your computer, into your pictures. It has done none of that. So what I think would be very helpful is to have that meeting with Matt and to ask those questions. But you can and we could talk about this at another time, Mr. Chair, but when there are
It does say that. It does say that in the policy.
I know it says that, and I think you're not understanding the context, but Mr. Chair, given these kinds of concerns about our staff influencing personal equipment, I will not prefer that our staff
I don't think you, Tracy, you work for the commissioners. I don't work for you. And I'm just saying that we okayed a policy. And when I talked to Matt, Matt said that he had given that to us early, but he didn't because you brought it in you brought it in just before that meeting started. And then a month later, January, the second meeting in January, you came in, there was Commissioner Murphy, myself, and I don't remember, I think there was Commissioner Letterman too. And you passed it out and said it was real important. So we passed it. But then May, it was May or April or May, when I found these papers, I found a paper in my apartment. I don't know how I got there saying, and when I talked to Matt, he said it was on the personal iPad. But anyway, the bottom I'm getting at is that when I went back through the policy, that's when I read that you had, the county had the right to go on my personal email.
Mr. Chair, please stop this discussion.
No.
Move on. Jesus.
Okay, Jan, would you be interested in setting up a meeting with us on these people and then we'll work with this policy?
Yes,
here?
I would.
understand your
Yes.
concerns.
I have saved the links so I can show the links to you, Matt. I'm just real curious about it. And I'll bring the policy in too. But I'm real curious about this and real concerned because every time I take it in, it costs me a couple $100 to get someone to go through it.
Device. If this is a personal device, it's inappropriate that county staff have access to this. Number one. Number two, policies are sent out well in advance. Number three, the policy that's in front of this board tonight was first distributed to this board on the 25th of October.
That's right, it was.
Yes.
And I've already, and I had a talk with Matt about it.
Yes.
I mean, I've already had a talk with Matt and I told him I would come in and set up a time with him. And I don't know why you're upset about this, Tracy. I have the right to talk about it. I'm a commissioner and I'm bringing up a point that's bothered me and I haven't said a lot about it until the second, until the second policy now has come up. And, but anyway, I will be back in Michigan the 1st of January, Matt. In fact, let's set it up for the 4th of January. That'd be the Monday. And I will bring my computer and show it to you. I've saved the links. They saved them in the waste paper counter, whatever you want to call, and I can show them to you.
Okay, it sounds like Jan's going to be meeting with you guys on that. So any other questions on this policy of Matt? I had a couple in here.
Mr. Chair, I would ask that another commissioner attend that meeting with Matt and Commissioner Bunting. We've got to do something about these accusations. And I'm not going to have an employee of the county be subject to these kinds of accusations. I am asking that another commissioner be designated to sit in on that meeting.
I would like to see the sheriff sit in on it, if he can. The sheriff or under sheriff. Let's get one of those guys to sit in on it.
Mr. Chair, anyone else, but I would ask for another commissioner. If you would like to do that, Mr. Chair, I would welcome you.
Chuck, I'm fine either on the first meeting, whatever the date is, the first meeting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna schedule that meeting, then I'll sit in. I'm
Thank
gonna,
you.
on which day?
I'm gonna come in on that Monday before the meeting.
Day, that'll be the
I think it's the
third.
4th. Yes,
Let's
the 4th.
just let's set it for the day of the next meeting.
Okay, and Sam will set in.
I'll sit on the next meeting of the Board of Commissioners, the first one in January.
That'd be the fourth.
Monday, I don't know what time, but I'll be here on the 4th, on that Tuesday for all day, and then I'm flying back out on Wednesday. But let's set it on that day, that meeting day that we're gonna have a meeting that evening.
So that'd
Thank
be
you.
January 4th, the first meeting. Yeah.
Set a time up the day, Tracy, I'll be around.
What time are we going to meet, Commissioner Bunting, on January 4th?
Let's meet about 11 o'clock. I have another appointment.
Matt,
that
are you
morning.
available at 11 a.m. that day,
Yeah,
January 4th? All right. Thank you. Commissioner Smith, does that work for you?
Yeah, I'll be here really, just here to come to do this meeting that night. Maybe my kids will work me, but that's okay.
We
So
can make
you
it a
can
different
meet at
time.
11?
That's fine. 11 o'clock's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. All right.
one of
Any
the,
other questions on,
Matt, I just really want to clear this up. I'm sure everybody here knows that this has nothing to do with going in and looking at my personal computers in my office or anything like that. I understand this. I've served on some boards where we've taken training for this, for phishing, for stuff like that. So we don't let somebody into our secure network. The other thing that this policy is doing is that it's training our folks to not leave pertinent information that this county has on our constituents, people that come from anywhere in the world here to do business with us, that would be leaked out, and not to let anybody into this system. And we're just training our people who work in this courthouse to be more secure with everybody else's data that comes into this courthouse to do business, whether it's being arrested, whether it's getting a marriage license, whether it's getting a gun permit, whatever your kind of business you're doing with this courthouse, we just want to secure that information and keep it here. Am I correct?
that's correct. Not only the constituents and the citizens, but
hard.
also our own employees.
Employees too, but whoever does business here, whatever this operation holds for personal information that I would come and give it or got arrested or whatever, that type of stuff. I just want to clear that up. It's got nothing to do with our personal computers. And if you need a motion on this, I'll give you that motion, that we'll move forward with it. Is that what you need, Matt?
Yes, yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Bailey to approve this. Under discussion, I just wanted to point out a couple things, Matt. 6.5, you say all elected officials, but I'd like to point out that you really have no jurisdiction. I mean, I think it's good and everybody would comply and work with you on this, but you have no jurisdiction over elected officials. They're only going to be answerable to the voters and to their,
Well, I
other than if they violate some law or something.
violate things that we see in
Privacy laws.
privacy laws that we're having a
Official, I don't care.
But
situations where
we're
we're,
not going to be able to take any action against any of them. They're an elected official.
it could be a recall.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But the bottom line is that it's really trying to train, I mean, if you want to sit down in these meetings
Simply training people to be more cautious.
about,
Everyday duties, period.
Are gonna
Good
work
Lord.
with Matt on this, but you really have no jurisdiction, And the other thing, the signature on legal counsel, boy, I tell you, I got some first graders who could do a better signature than that. I'd just like to point out, I think it's a little sloppy. It should say underneath it, the name, the title, and the firm.
Okay, I can-
That's what I had on that.
We'll do that in the future.
yeah, we can adjust that. And I do think in the packet, at least my intent was to include some of the correspondence just so that you could see who was.
Right, I did read through all that, so, yeah. All right, any further questions? Or discussion on the motion? All righty, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion passed. All right, next. We're on to some appointments here. We have Commission on Aging. Looks like it's first up.
Mary Hall.
I
I
can
didn't
help
print
you.
all
We
this
have some
up.
questions. So there's 3 positions on the Commission on Aging, District 1, District 4, and District 5. And we only had 1 applicant, Mary Hum, for District 5. Lois Ramsey in District 1 does not want to reapply for another term. And Patricia McCurry, I think is how you say her name. She is not going to reapply either. So District 1 and District 4 will be vacant in January. So we'll probably have this on the agenda again as soon as we do some recruiting. But Mary Hum did apply for District 5.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Smith, support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. You're gonna keep going down through the list here, Angie?
Sure.
Okay,
So then the next one was the members at large, and Floydine Mitchell, she did not want to reapply, but Alice Schaefer did. So we will have 1 position open for member at large on Commission on Aging.
Move that we accept Alice Schaefer.
Schaefer.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Bailey, support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Keep
And
going,
the
Angie.
planning, yep, and the Parks and Recs Board does have 1, and that will be on the next agenda. I don't think I have that on this agenda.
Okay, I show Planning Commission next, 2
Okay.
positions.
So there's 2 positions. We've got, I'm sorry, there's 3 positions. There's Mark Raycraft, Danny Morley, and Elquin Cohen, I think. And they all,
Elquin, Lincoln, Keon. Are you sure there are
Yeah.
3? I think there's just 2 re-ups of Elquin and Dan Manley, isn't it?
Angie, you're reading off.
yes,
the-
you
you're
are
reading off
correct.
the zoning
There
board.
is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're reading off the zoning board people.
I am. I'm sorry.
You got
Um,
COVID, that's okay.
So I can make
Mine's
one mistake.
confused.
That's
Okay,
right.
so we've got Danny and we've got Elquin.
I think you missed it again.
For the Planning Commission, 2 people,
Yeah.
Danny
Manley.
Manley and
Manley
Elquin.
and Elquin.
Oh, okay. I got their last.
I would move that we accept both of those.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey. We have a second.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Next up, Zoning Board of Appeals, 5 positions.
Yes, and we only had 3 applicants, which Mark Raycraft, Mike Brown, and Maureen Murphy.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Smith. We have a second. Support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Next, Construction Board of Appeals, 1
Yeah.
position.
Yep, just, there was a vacant position and Mike Brown actually put down the construction zone of appeals on his application. So I put it on the board packet so that we can have it. I do believe they've only met once in the last 20 years.
And that was on a ZFS thing.
Yes.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. We have a second. Support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Just a quick question, Angie, when you're going to recruiting, will you run like an advertisement or something in the Herald or how will you?
In the paper, and I reach out to the department heads to see, and I send letters to the people who are existing on the board so that they can send their applications in. Then I advertise in the paper and then also ask department heads to keep a lookout.
Okay, thank you.
Angie, could you just quick run down what are the vacancies that you have right now?
So we have a member at large for Parks and Rec. And then the Commission on Aging. And then I think the only one that we had that was sitting out there was that Construction Appeals Board. But when that was called into action, when we needed to have a board put on, I think we had some good candidates that stepped up and filled the position.
There's also one on Commission of Aging.
There's two on Commission on Aging now, which is District 1, yours, and District 4, which is John's. So if you guys can maybe try to recruit some people, I think John would be grateful.
All right, real good. Next, moving on to unfinished business. We all got a letter from Clark Hill, and I think we ought to discuss it. They're asking for payment on that bill. And they've cited a case that was tried in Isabella County that the treasurer was ordered to be paid through the delinquent tax revolving fund. So I just wanted us to discuss it. I hate to see this go to court if that's what it's going to do. He's saying that there already is a case in Isabella that's settled in their favor on this issue.
I knew this a couple of years ago that they have to wait so many months before they can turn it over to collection or into the courts. And so we're at that point now. So we know where we stand on this. I'm going to make a motion. If it goes down, fine. At least they know they can continue on or get paid, one or the other. So I'll make a motion that we pay it. Otherwise, it's going to cost us more money and we'll still end up paying for it. So I'll make a motion that we just pay for it and be done with it. And if we pay for it, then we can go after Michelle for it if you want to do that.
So, and the amount I'm showing on this is for $4,462.64. Motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I thought it was going to be less if we paid for it by the end of the year.
I don't see that in the letter here.
Okay, I know before they said that if we paid for it by the end of the year.
So I'm looking
Okay.
for a second. Not hearing a second, motion dies for lack of a second. So, moving on. I need to recess the meeting here and move into the financial meeting. Need a motion on
Make a
that?
motion that we move into the financial meeting, close the regular meeting.
All righty.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Lemmerman. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion passed. And the financial meeting.
Would anyone like a 5-minute recess before we go in, or shall we just get started?
Let's get her done.
Let's get her done.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order and Chris, go ahead and take it away.
All right, good evening, board. For you tonight, I have our standard presentations. Starting off with our cash balances. You see over the years, typically between October and November, we drop somewhere in the neighborhood of between $50,000 and $100,000 in cash. We use, we don't drop, we use our reserves. And it fell right in line with that again in our current fiscal year. Does anybody have any specific questions about our cash balances? I'll get into our COVID recovery fund a little bit more at the end of the meeting. I included a blurb in the financial director's report. If not, I will go ahead and I'll move on to the expenditure report for the month of November. I'll give you a moment to look that over. If you have any specific questions, please let me know. Commissioner Lemmerman, let me know when the appropriate amount of time has passed, please.
Does anybody have any questions? Let's keep her moving, Chris.
Okay. Last of my reports is the budget to actual for each of the funds for the county. We are currently through the end of November. We are through, I believe, 16.7% of the fiscal year. In our next meeting, once we're completed with December, that will be 1/3 of the way through our fiscal year, and I'll provide a more in-depth analysis of each of these funds, including going into the general fund, reviewing it department by department, so that you can see how the individual departments are doing so far.
Chris, did you say that was next month?
Typically, I would do that in January, the second meeting in January.
Yeah, okay.
I will speak with Commissioner Lemmerman about that. I know that we do have plans to have several guests appear in the finance meeting in January to discuss millage rates. So we may bump that back to the first meeting of February. So Commissioner Lemmerman and I will work on that. And then without any questions related to the budget to actual, I turn it over to our treasurer so she can go through her reports.
Hi, all. Sorry, it took me a
Hello.
minute. I was over on the side and then I had to get to where I could get to unmute myself. So my reports were in your packet. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Nothing?
Terry, I have a question, and I'm prohibited from doing any business with the county because there's a conflict of interest for me to do that. But I'm aware of some Cedars offerings where inside of one fund, you have expanded FDIC insurance and you have laddered CDs and you have a certain proportion coming due every month, and everything is laddered out into time, and it's in one investment product, so that unused or with proper planning, you can sort of figure out what your upfront needs for cash liquidity would be, but you can have other things stretched out into time. And does the county have access to something like that?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure. I can talk to my investors about that.
Okay.
Well, Cedars is only provided through banks, through FDIC, but look at investments. When you're doing business, Raymond James and stuff, they wouldn't be guaranteed by FDIC.
I think within an investment account,
It's a Cedars account, which is a completely, that's.
they can
government.
have Cedars inside.
Yeah, that's a government guaranteed program.
That's just where, what is it, 250 or 500 or something you can have in a bank.
You're limited to how much.
If you put $1 million in, they participate with another bank that over there. So you're covered.
There's several different banks that carry the Cedars. but
Cedars program, right?
You can only put you're right, there's a half.
There's a number, 500,000, 250, something like that, whatever it is, but
So nobody gets stretched out too thin.
yeah, but I don't think it's in Raymond James or anything like Edward Jones or anything like that. And maybe you know something different than I do, that
Or maybe things have evolved a little bit.
I just know about the Cedars program when I was in the bank board, that we had promoted to get into that, to where you take in extra cash.
So it's great for banks because they can take that
Yeah,
ability.
you got $1 million you can take in. If it was 250 max, then they would sort it out over 3 banks.
Exactly, it works really well.
Yeah.
But I wasn't aware of investments that are tied to that Cedars program.
Or a Cedars program in investment.
And I'm not,
I believe there is.
okay,
I
good.
believe there is.
I don't know how, but that's great. I'm not gonna say there isn't,
Yeah,
because I don't know, because all I know is what in government, and I've been in it for a long time, government funds cannot be invested in,
correct.
that manner. They can only be invested normally into CDs and that type of thing, but you can't move out of that realm as far as stock market.
Terry, I might make an appointment to come see you and show you what I'm talking about. And just for basis of
Yeah.
comparison.
Good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. I like it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. If there's no other questions for Terry, I apologize.
No, Chris, I think you're fine.
I'm gonna go ahead and give my first written financial director's report. We plan on giving these to you each month going forward instead of writing several different memos for topics that I want to discuss. Just for ease of discussion, flipping through things, and also it allows me to hit on some of the topics that might not have as much information that would require a memo. And I'll put these at the beginning of the meeting. I apologize, this one was put at the end of the meeting. That way we could go through this first, and then you can, like, when I talk about the COVID recovery fund in my report here, then you see the COVID recovery cash balances. Things may make a little more sense. But the first topic I have here is audit. Audit is underway right now. Today was yesterday was the first day that the auditors were on site. Today, they did not need to come back on site. They had enough information uploaded into their the portal, the software that we use, that Yo has, that we give them all of their documentation through. This just shows approximately the status of our audit. When you see the yellow, that's how much we have uploaded that they have not reviewed. The green, the 12%, is what we uploaded and they have reviewed. And then the blue is what they have requested from us that we have not gotten to them yet. As of probably 10 minutes before I came into this financial meeting, we got it down to about 29% now outstanding. So we're cooking right along in this audit. They will be back on site the week of January 4th. I believe they'll be back on Tuesday, which will be the 5th. And work here through all the questions and walkthroughs that they need to. So far, things are going, I'm really happy with the way things are going. Drain prepayments and budget amendments. The previous meeting that I did not attend, the board approved another prepayment for a drain loan, which I do 100% agree that with doing that. Currently what I do, it was brought up that we should discuss whether or not a budget amendment should be done each time that one of these is approved. What I'd like to do is go over in detail every quarter, the budget actual to the budget to actual. And then after 6 months and after 12 months is when I like to do the budget amendments. That way we are able to see if any of these unexpected expenditures can even themselves out in unexpected savings somewhere else, which quite frequently does happen. I don't want to have to bring budget amendments every month to the board to have you approve them if I feel like we can smooth it out later on in the fiscal year. And not only that, I also feel like if a department were to go over budget, they should be held accountable to try and find a way to get back onto budget. Now, I know these drain prepaids are a different animal. They're not the responsibility of a specific department because the board itself makes these decisions. But at the same time, I want to stick with the methodology that I use to come in and request budget amendments at 6 months and at 12 months. And I'd like to just get just a real brief feedback from you if that is okay with you. But before I do that, I do want to say that from now on, I am going to include in here the amount of money that you have approved for these prepaids so that you have a running tally in front of you every month. So if another one does come up, you know where that'll put you. But like I said, just a brief yes, no, if you agree with what I have been doing and would like to continue to do.
So I got more than yes, no. We did two prepayments. One, I think last time we were within, and I think we had $6,000 maybe left in it, and we paid like a $30,000 deal. That's going to be the adjustment. Was that what it was? We did two last time?
I think that's what it would be if we adjusted right then.
Yeah.
Right, if we'd adjusted, but we did the second one and we just said Chris can figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So that put us out of whack, 25 grand, I think. Is that about right?
So the amendment was passed? Is that what you're saying?
No,
No, we didn't do an amendment. We just said you'd figure it out when you got back. We spent the money.
Right.
so.
Yes, and they were paid.
Yeah.
So the checks
We had to
did
do
go.
by a certain date, I think, or something, yes.
So what I'm hearing, you'd like to do those in 6 months?
I would like to do that halfway through our fiscal year.
Yeah.
Just to bring it all back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anymore, I think we'd have to ask you because we're over budget now. To really talk about another prepayment if it come up if we wanted to do it.
Yes, that I would not make one.
Yeah, you can't now because we're over. Right.
Yeah, we're over budget. So I think it would be a situation to say if there was a deal that we wanted to do, we probably have to make an amendment that day probably to adjust it. Would we? Or could you wait to the?
We could wait.
Oh, we can still wait even if there's another one come next
Just
month.
so long you approved it, we could wait to increase the budget.
I see. Okay.
Not like we don't have the funds, we just don't have it in that budget.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah, I know.
three prepayments that I made prior to these ones coming to you because you had already approved them in the budget.
Right. And we made two last time and the second one we had $6,000 left. We used that up. We had $6,000 left. I think the last one was 25,000 or something we paid. But we had to get it done by a certain day, I think, we recall it.
Yeah, we're up against.
Timing issue, yeah.
Yeah, we were up against the clock on that one. So.
Okay, yes, but if you can adjust it still in 6 months, that's fine.
Yeah, they had to be paid Friday, the 17th. That's why that was put, that's why that one got rushed to you.
I don't have a problem with 6 months. They'll do
Do you need a motion for that, Chris, or we just?
No,
Generally
I was
agree.
just looking for feedback. We don't need a
I-
motion for that.
I don't have a problem with it.
And this report on the ARP funds looks great, to do for us on a regular basis.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that's very important to get in front of you. But before I get to that, I'm going to update you real quick on the millage review progress. And this is something that Commissioner Lemmerman and I work on a weekly basis, bringing ideas, bouncing ideas back and forth, updating each other. So now we need to start bringing this to the board on a more regular basis. So what we envision is that on January 18th, the second meeting in January, that each individual entity, some of them are county departments, some of them are not county departments, such as libraries or Greater Gratiot Development, will bring to the board what I'm hoping will be a one-page summary, essentially, of their millage, where a part of it is going to have financial information, and a part of it is going to tell you the story of what they do with their millage, how they have, the services that they provided, and how things have changed since it began. So the first financial report we put together was for Parks and Rec. And I included that here, what I want it to look like. The revenue that they collect for the millage in comparison to the total revenue that the program brings in comparison to the total expenditures. And then the other item on here of importance is, are they accumulating a cash balance? So I picked 3 points, 2013, 2017, and 2021. They're important because 2013 is the first year before the wind turbine farms went on the tax roll. So this is what they were getting before turbine money started coming in. 2021 is the most recent collection and expenditure information. And then 2017 is smack dab in the middle so that we can put together some sort of trend when you look at these numbers. And then the cash surplus that they have, that is a cumulative number. So that is what they have in the bank account at any given point in time. So if they have surpluses or if they have deficits, their cash balance is obviously going to go up and down based on that surplus or deficit. Now, the second half of this, the entities are going to fill out themselves. For example, something that I would expect to see Parks and Rec right in there is they have almost a $600,000 cash balance because they've been saving up their surpluses in order to pave the roadways out at
Upshur Park.
Oh, they did that one. What's the other one? Help me out. Sorry.
Upshur Park.
Oh, that's done. The one Reed's.
Reed's Park. Yep.
Reed's Park, sorry.
So they're expecting a $300,000 to $400,000 bill to put asphalt down out there. So it gives them an opportunity to explain some of these balances. Everyone has, I've talked to a couple libraries. I've talked to a couple department heads. Everyone seems very happy with this methodology. I've told them to give you enough information so that you would be able to, ask any intelligent questions that might need to be asked to, start this conversation. I've let them know that this is going to be a long process. I'll let them know that there will not be any decisions that are going to be made at this meeting. In fact, the board won't make any motions or decisions on this officially until September of 2022, when we approve the when we approve the millage rates before they are sent to the state of Michigan. So, there's been people coming in that may have been concerned that this would be we'd be taking tax money away from them. But I think they're starting to understand that this is going to be a long conversation where we just look at the programs and look at what is appropriate. I'm open to any discussion or feedback on that before I move on to the next topic.
Are we gonna, how many entities have we got coming? 5 maybe?
If you count all the libraries.
The libraries was just one fund. I mean.
Yeah, right.
I don't think all the libraries have to be here They weren't all the libraries when they came to ask them for the money.
The libraries are going to be presenting together. So they are going to be presenting as one entity.
Yeah.
So
But
we
I mean,
have, we have
point-
6
go ahead.
different entities that,
6.
right. If you split up MSU Extension and Greater Gratiot,
So what's your time frame? What do you think? I want to give everybody adequate amount of time. But you know, we all have lives too. So you don't sit here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. After a while, that I wouldn't want to be the guy at the end. You know what I'm saying?
oh, absolutely. Completely understand that.
Well, Chris, would you give us those numbers before the meeting?
Absolutely.
So we'd have them in the agenda to look at them. So I think you could move it along a little quicker. I mean,
I would think no more than 15 minutes per.
if that even. you know.
Yeah.
I just think you're looking at,
I want to drag it out.
yeah, I mean, you're looking at how much money somebody's got and you can kind of say, okay. I mean, you can look at the Parks and Recs and say, have some cash flow. What are you thinking about doing with that? We got $300,000 project we've been saving for, you know?
Well,
Makes sense to me.
in my humble opinion, I just want to satisfy the board and satisfy the taxpayers that we're looking at all the millages and wanting to make sure that all those entities are funded as good as they need to be.
Yeah.
And if they've been overfunded, well, then we can cut back a little bit on those. That's all. I'm not here to, I don't think this board's here to beat up anybody. I don't know. I need to ask the questions. We're okay. We're approving millages, but where are those millages actually being spent on?
Yeah.
I think that's my point is that,
I think when you see the bottom line of the savings account, that'll be the,
and
yeah.
they should be happy to come in and explain themselves.
I'm trying to set it up in a way that their presentation will not take long at all. I want all the active talking points to be broke out right here. Where it could get into a lengthy process is when you start asking them questions. And it is very possible that it could get into a lengthy process. And the only suggestion that I would have for the board is perhaps have 3 entities come in one meeting and 3 come at a later date. If that is something that you're concerned with.
I just don't want to push, I don't want anyone that comes in the room to explain, you know, their millage to be rushed. I want them to feel that we've had adequate time to talk about it and listen to what they have to say. So I'm concerned about that. So I don't know. I don't know what the best is. It's just that.
I think that's a good, what you just proposed, Chris, is a good compromise solution. I've heard from a couple of them that I don't have the letter that I signed with me, but I think you guys all got a copy. But the one thing that is noted is they said, we noticed that you didn't put increase the millage. We noticed that you only said perhaps reduce the millage. So I think the idea of just having 3 at a time is good because I don't want to rush anybody through it or anything like that.
You know, you might be surprised when you look at these numbers. You might look at some of these libraries that are running on donations. You know, they're getting X amount of dollars and they run their, I mean, I wouldn't want to get out in the weeds of how they run it and how many books they buy, but bottom line is that you might find that it costs $10,000 to run a library and they're getting $9,000 from the village and they're making the other grand up on donations. Probably they need a little extra money.
So,
yeah.
Fees.
I want to look one of my constituents if they ask me, and I can say they've done this, this, and this, yes, they need the money, or no, we've taken a little away, whatever. But I can't answer those questions right now. People ask me and I don't know. I think we have to be, in my opinion, get a little more involved in what's going on with those types of things.
Well, here
At the Parks and Rec Committee meeting, they said this has never been done before.
Oh,
They said, you guys have never done this before. So that was what most of the curiosity was about. Like, it's probably high time.
But you know what happens is that if you didn't have windmills increasing the values.
Right.
I mean, we've had a shot in the arm over the years, whatever the
2013.
2013, we've had a big shot in the arm. So it's like building a city or something, you know, we just had a lot of tax base coming in. And so it's probably a good thing to look at, you know, but I'm.
And we have to remember, we've got the sword of Damocles.
They're all operating well.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And you bring up a good point, Sam. We do have the sword of Damocles over our heads as far as this
Yeah, we don't know where that's gonna end up. Yeah.
where that's gonna lie out. I got a feeling we're all gonna owe something. But the point is right now, how much?
Yep.
And so I don't want to put something on and the people that all get millages get that money.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them to be in a position where they can't pay some back if they have to.
The last 3 meetings I went to, they were all talking about windmills and I said, boys, I tell you what, if this was my operation and I was taking money in, I'd put 20% in the sock. Just in case.
And I don't think you're that far off.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know, and maybe they get to keep all the sock, you know,
But, you know, you plan for the worst and hope for the best. So I think we're doing a service, not only to the taxpayers, but to everyone that has a millage. So that they honestly take a look at what they have and what they can afford. Okay, I'm done. Getting off my soapbox.
I would suggest then on January 18th, we bring in the Gratiot County departments and have them speak with you. Their information, their financial information is something that I can put together, which I cannot put together, you know, outside entities' financials. Also, it would give the outside entities a meeting to prepare to see how the interaction is going to look like. And I think it'll calm a lot of nerves.
Yep, sounds good. Yep.
Then as far as the second meeting to bring them back, would you prefer that it would be the first meeting in February or the second meeting in February?
Well, I don't know why we'd wait till the second meeting if we can get them back in the first. Because they need to know, they need to know answers of what is gonna happen going forward, because they have budgets to get ready also.
and nothing's gonna happen until, like he says, we renew them once a year.
Okay, I will reach out to them tomorrow and make sure that that would work for everybody. Thank you. So get my screen back up. The last item I have on here, the updated ARP funds and project list, just to show you where we stand for what's been approved. I've updated the numbers for the Motorola radios. That is now net of the refund that the county has received for the extra radios that we sent back to them. There is one number that I did not update that I could have, that Commissioner Lemmerman and I talked about this week. That's the email replacement. Matt does have an actual quote for that now, and I put the up to amount in there, so that should come down. But this is what we're looking at so far. What we've received from the feds is about $3.85 million. To date, we've actually spent $1.1 million. Or I believe that's.
No, you spent more
No,
than that.
that's not accurate.
We've committed to it.
We've committed 3.3.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Chris, I don't even know if you know this. This is a little bit off the subject, but this health department building, I buzzed around there the other day. Was anybody doing any work on that thing, or are we good?
Nothing's going on yet. I was all the way through it the other day when I was at the health department. There's nothing going on.
I was gonna say, I
As
buzzed.
far as removing the things, but I asked the director yesterday if they've done it on the inside. They're waiting to do for spring weather to do the
Well, they've
outside.
got a lot of windows and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah, I think they're replacing furnaces. and
Yeah.
Stuff.
They've got, yeah, you
The
can't.
inside work, I guess they have done, she said.
Oh, they have done. some. Okay.
There's design work being done, and the Aaron Wosak from Spicer Engineering has been involved with another huge project in another county that's finishing this week, and so he's going to be getting started into design for this. But so it's sort of been quietly moving along. There's a whole lot that will get done in terms of design, supplies, procurement, and so forth before you really see anything actually happening.
Thank you.
So none of the water line requests, none of those payments have gone out yet, although Ithaca is very close to having all of their contracts and stuff in a row.
Elma opened the street back up, so I'm assuming that's close too.
And that concludes our first ever financial director's report.
Very good.
Does anybody have any questions for Chris? Any other questions? Do you see, is there any public comments? Is there anybody out there?
Nobody's connected in right now.
All right, I guess I need an emotion to adjourn and go back to.
So moved.
Or all those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're back to the regular meeting.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Support by Commissioner Smith, support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion passed. And still nobody online to make comments. We've exhausted our agenda. Without objection, we are.
I got one thing I want to update.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry,
You've had enough time to talk.
I was writing notes. That way I
Into.
Great. I know Commissioner Bailey and all of you, but specifically Commissioner Bailey, have been very interested about the Apex radios, the mobile or portable radios you purchased. I received word from Procom on Friday, December 17th. The radio templates have been released. That's all been approved, and I wasn't aware of, and I don't think they maybe necessarily were either, but the next step is December 28th, the radios will have to be hands-on touched by the state in order to enable encryption. But as soon as that's done, I suspect that we will issue the radios very early January. So we actually met with Procom today on a separate thing, but we started talking about it, starting to develop a plan on issuing the radios to the patrol officers to the different departments. So,
Well, let's hope that works.
yeah, it's been a thorn in my side, and so therefore I became a thorn in the state side too, but watching the state is something that doesn't happen, so.
On their last legs.
So,
I agree.
and we will be collecting the old ones, and then we'll have that emergency supply. Sorry, it's been a pain. It's been a pain.
Oh, what you gotta do, what you gotta do. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so without objection, we're adjourned.